There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination, at the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Hello and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics Radio. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me as always is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Got some fun stuff to read from the comic shop today. I'm excited.
What'd you pick up? Heard House of X3 was out?
Yes. So I got... Well, no, it's Powers of X3.
Is it Powers
which
of X3?
confused the hell out of me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the release order's like flip-flopping. It's really weird. And confused the shit out of me for like 5 minutes. And then, let's see, Kanto, number 3.
Yep, I knew that one was out.
And Killer Groove 4.
Yep.
And then I picked up, there's a Deadpool comic where he was riding a Pegasus unicorn while holding a giant like He-Man type sword and a big like laser gun. So I was like, that looks fun.
Oh, so he was pretending to be Trump.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, fair enough. I always think about those political pictures with the presidents that are riding, either mystic animals or on massive armaments or dinosaurs. Yeah, shooting laser guns and holding swords.
Yeah, I love Abraham Lincoln riding Velociraptors shooting M16s.
All right. Well,
definitely one of my favorites.
I actually have some exciting news. With the help of the Gator Gamer from Killstream and Gator Time, I have finally figured out that you can circumvent the muting that Skype does on a call. So I don't have to worry about boosting the audio up 12 to 15 decibels, depending on the audio. And if the Skype call drops out, you're not going to get deafened anymore. So I figured that might be exciting for you guys.
Yes, you all should be cheering in the chat right now. I want to see bras being thrown off and burned, mounds of cocaine.
Dude, this isn't the 70s. This is YouTube.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, shout out to Danielle and Novel Bro in the chat. Always great to have you guys here. Thanks to a shout out from Sinatra Says, who, if you haven't checked him out, definitely go do so. But Sinatra Says gave us a little shout out on his most recent video, and we may have some new people in the chat here soon. So that's exciting. Definitely appreciate that. But ran a poll earlier today, about 9-10 hours, something like that, and Sherlock Holmes is pretty much a runaway lead for the longest time. Blue Beetle almost caught him, but it ended up 31 to 38% in favor of Sherlock Holmes, with the rest going to the Shadow and an unnamed other, because I assume someone was being contrary and just wanted to put other without suggesting anything. Which I appreciate.
Are we sure that Sherlock Holmes winning wasn't because of Russian hackers?
Absolutely not. In fact, I hope it was because of Russian hackers, because that means they have good taste.
Me too.
I'm in good with the Kremlin. Comrade. Helicopter in the background.
Seriously, Putin is my favorite political character of our time. He just cracks me up.
I will see if there is a radio rendition of Hound of the Baskervilles and I will can it for the next show. Let's see here. As
That would be interesting to hear.
Tonight we have the final problem: murder by proxy. Get this one, guys: the Jewish breastplate and the devil's foot in rotation for you. So
now, I have a question.
Okay.
So I can't decide if a Jewish breastplate is either a breastplate made out of the Jew gold that they keep in the bag around their neck, or if it's a breastplate designed to protect the bag of Jew gold that they keep around their neck.
That's tricky. And what's that armor made out of? Shekels, says Novel Bro. I'd love to see Game of Thrones tackle that one. Otherwise, I say we just go ahead and get right into it.
We should.
Test out this new audio.
Google Jewish breastplate, by the way.
Okay. All right. But, yeah, without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. Let me know if there are any problems, if it's too quiet, too loud, and I can fix that and get it just right for you guys on the new setup.
Hell yeah.
Every week at this time, the makers of G. Washington's Coffee bring you a story from the Sherlock Holmes series of mystery dramas. This week's adventure is an adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story entitled The Final Problem. Remember as you listen to it that G. Washington solves your daily coffee problem just as surely as Holmes solves his famous mysteries. At the end of the program, we have a brief announcement about Dr. Watson and his friend Sherlock Holmes. Please listen for it. And that opening paragraph, as always, leads us to Dr. Watson's comfortable, hospitable study.
Well, there's a blazing fire and a steaming cup of G. Washington coffee to welcome you. Here it is, Mr. Bell. Made it as you came up the steps.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. You know, a good cup of coffee always seems to me to be the very essence of hospitality.
You name me a better coffee than G. Washington's, Mr. Bell. Go ahead, name me one.
But seriously, G. Washington's isn't just another brand of coffee. It's really entirely different. It not only has a perfect flavor, but it's the easiest coffee to fix. Just a teaspoonful in the cup, add hot water. Incidentally, you never make more than you're going to use, so that makes it economical, too.
Right, Mr. Bell. Now, suppose I begin my story.
Fine. What's it to be this time?
How about another tussle between Holmes and Professor Moriarty?
Excellent. Always gives me plenty of first-class shudders to meet that individual.
Well, tonight's story deals with Holmes' efforts to break up one of his most unpleasant schemes. A racket, you'd call it today.
And did he succeed?
Oh, no, Mr. Bell, that's putting the cart before the horse. The affair began with a series of curious disappearances from St. Anthony's Hospital.
Well, what disappeared, Dr. Watson? People or things?
They were corpses, or perhaps I should say cadavers. Oh. Now, before I go any farther, perhaps I should explain that St. Anthony's is a medical school and hospital combined. I myself took my course in anatomy and dissection inside its venerable walls. Sir Lionel Greatlake, the head of the staff, was an old friend of mine. We cursed our internship in the same hospital. But to make a long story short, I received a frantic communication from Sir Lionel begging me to persuade Holmes to come straight to the hospital. I remember that night perfectly. A particularly nasty pea super had settled down over London. Literally feeling our way, we crept along the embankment till we sensed, rather than saw, the grey walls of St. Anthony's looming up ahead. Foghorns always have to sound so mournful.
Well, Watson, you would insist on coming tonight.
No, staff entrance should be somewhere along here. Here it is. I stumbled over the doorstep. Where is that infernal bell? Oh, and here we are. I hope the night watchman hasn't gone off in his rounds.
No, someone's opening the door.
Thank you, Watson. The fog, I can't see very clearly.
No, it's me right enough, Leo. I brought Sherlock Holmes along with me.
Oh, thank heavens. Come in.
Ah. Oh, this is my old friend, Lionel Gately.
Oh, delighted.
Honored, and I may say grateful and relieved. This is the 6th theft inside of a month, Mr. Holmes. It's got the place in an uproar. Nurses having hysterics, patients insist on going home.
I take it you're alluding to the cadavers which have been stolen recently.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, you know how jealous a hospital is of its reputation. The least little bit of scandal...
Oh, cheer up, Leo. Maybe it's just a prank of one of the lads. You know what medical students are.
No, that's what I thought when we found the first body missing 4 weeks ago. But now that 5 have been stolen, oh, no, that's carrying a joke too far. They tried to get away with another this evening.
Really?
I just happened to drop into the dissecting room in time to stop it. The minute I opened the door, I knew someone was in there, but he slipped out the side way before I could light the gas. But come and see for yourself. Follow me. The laboratories are in this wing.
Oh, mausoleum. Looks familiar, Leo. Remember when we used to sneak a forbidden smoke behind that broom closet?
I wish to heaven life were as simple nowadays. Deuced place is like a beehive, buzzing with suspicion. No wonder we've been able to keep it out of the papers. Here we are. Just 1 second till I unlock the door. That's it. Now, just let me turn up the gas. Well, there we are.
Quite impressive. I see you have all the latest improvements. Oh, that gentleman in the corner. I take it he was the object of tonight's attempted abduction.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, that's the corpse. Splendid specimen, too.
Face a bit the worse for wear. Well, otherwise, a splendid body.
Yes, we're most anxious not to lose him.
He must be fairly recent. I see there have been no injections of the preserving fluid.
Right, Mr. Holmes. He died only this afternoon.
And the other stolen bodies, they have been duly preserved, I suppose.
Well, no. Now that you mention it, they were all stolen before being treated.
Curious, Watson?
Well, I don't know. I suppose if you're going to be a body snatcher, you might as well take fresh ones.
You'll pardon me if I rummage around a bit, Sir Lionel?
Of course.
Yes, I can carry on my interrogations and my investigations at the same time. Okay, there. My lens needs polishing. Now then, male or female?
What?
The stolen bodies, were they male or female?
Oh, male, all of them.
You'll say. Interesting, Watson?
You mean you think the thief's a woman hater?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as that. What age are the missing corpses?
Oh, I don't know. Middling, I should say. Remarkably good lot of bodies, though. No marked defects, I mean.
Here's a lad who's been careless about cleaning his instruments.
Oh, that'll be Potter. Has some girl on his mind. Can't wait to get washed up and away.
I see. And you found this specimen out here after the thief was scared off, huh? I take it the cadavers aren't usually left lying about.
Oh, certainly not. They're kept in that long steel cabinet over there. Can't be too careful, you know. Have to be rats in a building as old as this.
And how many people have keys to that cabinet, Sir Lionel?
Only Dr. Lacey. You may know him by reputation, Mr. Holmes. Hugo Lacey. He's our head surgeon and has charge of the classes in dissecting.
Of course. Brilliant fellow. I say, Leo, how's he coming along with his experiments in transplanting tissue?
Can't say. Carries on most of his experiments in a little laboratory he's fixed up in his own lodgings. Never lets anything out till it's perfect. One of the cleverest surgeons in the country, Mr. Holmes. Magnificent touch. I could wish, however, that he was a better professor.
No good at teaching, eh?
No, it isn't that. It's his temper. He can be devilish nasty. And let him catch one of the lads with an instrument bent out of place. It's a phobia with him, Mr. Holmes. A place for everything and everything in its place. I trust young Potter sets his things to right before Lacey sees them.
Oh, this is the door through which the thief escaped, I take it.
Yes, and I bolted it on the inside, as you can see.
Yeah, that's that. I think I've seen all there is to see.
Found anything, Holmes?
Yes. There is what you might call an overabundance of clues. Too many to permit of any intelligent deductions.
What do you mean?
Well, 14 sets of fingerprints, for instance. And in the dust, under that operating table alone, I found shreds of 5 different types of tobacco.
Dear me, I'm afraid Mrs. Platts is getting careless again. Oh, she's the cleaning woman, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Lacey is always complaining that she's inefficient. Well, Mr. Holmes, if you've finished your investigation, perhaps you can advise us how we should act in this matter.
Now, before I do that, suppose we come to an understanding. Would you be satisfied merely to stop the thefts, or do you want to know who is responsible for the missing corpses?
We must find out everything, Mr. Holmes. Who and what and how and why. A mystery of any kind is most demoralizing for a hospital.
In that case, we should do nothing further.
Oh, but Holmes...
We shall do nothing further tonight.
But aren't you going to set a watch on
If
his
we
room?
did, the criminal wouldn't show up. You may take my word for it, Sir Lionel. The man who has been stealing your cadavers is thoroughly acquainted with the workings of this hospital.
Look here, Mr. Holmes. If we don't set a guard on this room, he may steal this body, too.
I sincerely hope so.
Well, no use making things too easy for him. At least we can put the body back in the cabinet.
Unfortunately, that won't be possible. We can't open it. The cabinet has a spring lock. The thief slammed it after him.
Oh, dear. What will Lacey say when he finds this corpse out here in the morning?
Well, I don't think there's much danger of that, Sir Lionel.
Really, Mr. Holmes, I'm disappointed. I must say I hoped you would be more helpful.
Well, there's one thing we can do for you before we leave, eh, Watson?
No, what?
Well, we can make up for Mrs. Clutt's deficiencies. If you'll get us a couple of old rags, Sir Lionel, I think Watson and I can go over this room in no time.
Holmes, have you gone out of your mind?
Not at all, my dear Watson, not at all. It's most important that everything should be neat and tidy. Oh, it's a nice brisk day, eh? Wind seems to have dissipated all the fog.
Now, what's the idea of routing a chap out of his nice warm bed and the streets still deserted? Depressing, if you ask me.
The important thing, my dear Watson, is in setting a trap is to collect your catch before anyone else does. Oh, here's St. Anthony's. Hello. Sir Lionel seems to be having a bit of an argument with someone on the steps.
And I'll not be put off the schedule by any poor little executive, you see. I'm going home now to fix Dr. Lacey's breakfast, but I'll be back. And when I do, I'm going to clean that room.
But, Mrs. Clutt, I assure you that...
I'm one you ought to be put in charge. Everyone knows routine is what keeps an hospital running.
Watson, Mr. Holmes, I didn't see you. Come in.
Watson, Anthony's coming to you, I'd like to know. Out of me way, you.
What? Here, I beg your pardon.
I'm not to be put off my schedule, I'll tell you that. My soul, when I...
Yes, that was Mrs. Clutt.
So I gathered.
Bit of a termagant, eh, Leo? Red hair, fairly blazes.
Come in. Sorry to give you such a stormy welcome, but I just caught Mrs. Clutt about to clean up the laboratory. I suppose you want to take another look at the place.
If it's convenient.
Yes, of course. Follow me.
I wonder why the sudden burst of energy on Mrs. Clutt's part.
Dr. Lacey may have been putting the screws on. They get along like cat and dog, those two.
But didn't I just hear her say that she was going home to fix him his breakfast?
Yes. You see, Dr. Lacey is Mrs. Clutt's star lodger.
But surely if they get on each other's nerves, as they seem to...
Yes, it's a bit difficult to understand, I admit, but I suppose Lacey hesitates to move. He's really very comfortable. He's built in a lot of improvements, cupboards and things of that sort. I've told you how he is, a place for everything and everything in its place. Moreover, Mrs. Clutz is a first-class cook, and Lacey, he's a good feeder.
Oh, but Lacey, I wouldn't push the old girl too far. I'd be afraid of finding poison in my coffee some bright morning.
Well, here's your laboratory, Mr. Holmes. After you, gentlemen. Looks about the same as it did last night.
Well, I shall be able to judge better after I've gone over the place with my microscope.
Yes, but you said yourself there were too many fingerprints and things.
Well, why do you suppose I insisted on those rags last night, eh?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I see now. We were rubbing out those prints.
Marvelous, my dear Watson, marvelous. The old brain is actually functioning this early in the morning. Well, now let's see what we bagged. Oh, wait, here. Here's the sweeping stroke of a mop. The very mop that has been standing in this corner. Yes. Here are the imprints of a heavy hand on the edge of this table. Note the unusual whorls on the left-hand middle finger, like a question mark.
Those must be Mrs. Clutz's fingerprints. She was just about to start dusting the table when I caught her.
Yes, the prints on the mop and on the table are identical. Well, that seems to be all the evidence against Mrs. Clutz.
I got her out as quickly as I could.
Holmes, I say, Holmes, the corpse. It's gone.
I wondered how soon you'd notice that. The corpse has been stolen. But what did you expect, huh?
Sorry to contradict you, Mr. Holmes, but the corpse has been put back in the cabinet.
Oh, indeed?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it slipped my mind. I should have mentioned it sooner. Seems Dr. Lacey dropped in late last night and insisted on putting the cadaver back in the cabinet. Nothing the night watchman could say would dissuade him. I told you about his mania for order last night, Mr. Holmes.
These are doubtless his fingerprints, then, here on the lock and around this panel of the cabinet. Ah, yes, typical surgeon's hands. Long, sensitive fingers, but strong. Tips slightly spatulate.
Yes, that's Lacey right enough.
But, Holmes, aren't you going to look inside the cabinet?
Well, I suppose we might as well if Sir Lionel can provide us with the key.
Certainly, certainly. Lacey left his with the night watchman. Here we are.
By Jove, the corpse is missing.
Yes, I gathered it might be. Well, now let's see if we can find anything further in the room itself. Ah, here we are. Prints of a third set of fingers. Yes. He came in here earlier than Lacey. And notice the fingerprints of the doorknob. First this individual, then Lacey, and finally Mrs. Clutch. All nicely superimposed one over the other.
Say, Holmes, this is fascinating, almost as exciting as a scientific experiment.
Yes. This third individual, hand not any too steady. Aha! Here he stumbled and had to put his hand out to break himself. Yes, a nice print here on the wall. He moves over to this jar of alcohol. He removes the cover. Then he puts it back again. And here he staggers out.
You mean he was intoxicated?
Beautifully.
Yes, but I don't understand. Why in thunder did he come poking around here in the middle of the night?
Well, Watson, have you no recollection of your own green salad days? Didn't you ever sneak a bit of laboratory's alcohol to help out a celebration that had suddenly gone dry?
One of the students, eh? Any idea which one, Mr. Holmes?
Well, I think I can make a guess, but I don't intend to. The boy isn't mixed up in this body snatching. The corpse was here when he left. His prints are under Lacey's on the doorknob.
What is it, Potter? Oh, I just thought I'd slip in and polish up my instruments before those petticoats get... I beg your pardon, sir. Before Dr. Lacey gets to look at them. I'll come back later.
Oh, not all. Come right in. We're just leaving.
Yes, but Holmes, we haven't discovered anything.
Oh, but we have. We know for sure that either Lacey or Mrs. Clutch is involved in this business. Possibly both. Yes. I suggest we go to pay the Clutch ménage a visit.
Well, I'll be glad to take you over myself. What are you? You look a bit fagged this morning. I'm all right, sir. A little liverish, that's all. Well, don't let it get you down. Come along, Watson.
So, Mr. Potter.
Yes, sir?
They tell me tomato juice is an excellent antidote for raw alcohol.
That's Mrs. Clutch's place over there, the house with the white shutters.
Look at that crowd of people standing gawking out in front. I say, looks like something's happened.
Yes. There's my favorite watchdog of the law, Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard, standing in the doorway looking important. Oh, hello, Lestrade. What's up, eh?
Plenty. A woman by the name of Clutch has just murdered her lodger, Dr. Lacey.
Yeah, I told you she'd do it someday.
Any unusual details?
No, open and shut case. First, she stabs him with a kitchen knife, then she throws the body, clothes and all, into a vat of nitric acid this bloke was keeping in his dressing room.
Indeed. Any objections if I come in and take a look around?
All right. But I tell you, this case is open and shut. But come in. Body's in first room, head of the stairs. It's not nice, but if you want to look, go ahead. I got to stay here.
Oh, thanks.
What a vile odor. Chemical smell, plus something else.
Oh, that'll be the acid. Look out. Stairs are dark.
Holmes. Do you hear that noise? Like something bubbling and frying?
Yes. That's the acid working on the body.
Of course. That smell is acid and fat dissolving.
Right. Yes, this must be the room. Oh, good morning, Jenkins. Good morning. Lestrade set you here to guard the body, eh?
Yes, sir.
This air, too.
Oh, Jenkins, I think you might open another window. Get a draft through here.
Yes, sir.
Now, Watson, if you'll bring me that jug labeled olive oil, you may as well stop the action of this acid.
You're right.
Yes, sir. Pour it right into the tub. As Lestrade said, the remains are not exactly attractive. I wonder, Sir Lionel, if you could bring yourself to identify Dr. Lacey.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Holmes. I'm a medical man. I'm quite used to... Yes, it is rather horrible. Tastes almost entirely eaten away. With the dark hair, what was left of it, and the clothes and that ring, he never could get it off his little finger. Yes, I think we may safely say that it's Lacey, poor devil.
Well, Jenkins, how was he killed?
Kitchen knife on the table there. Mrs. Clutch's fingerprints plain as day.
So Lestrade's been persuaded the value of fingerprints, eh? Dear, the world does progress. Yes. These are Mrs. Clutch's prints, all right.
Hey, Joe. I'm here. Bring Mrs. Slug along.
Why didn't you go? Didn't get any hands on me. I didn't kill him. He was dead when I come in. He was dead at me.
None of your lip and get going.
Lestrade, just a moment. I'd like to ask this lady a few questions.
He was dead when I found him. Is it likely I'd have called in the police if I'd have done it?
Oh, you called in the police.
Well, that she did. Leaning out the window, screaming bloody murder.
Oh, any idea who could have killed Dr. Lacey, Mrs. Platt?
No, sir. I ain't been home all night. On account of my sister's having a baby. I went straight from Merkley to the hospital.
Oh, you had any chance to check up on that, Lestrade?
Oh, that's straight enough, but she'd been home at least 20 minutes before she called the police. Time to murder half a dozen doctors.
I didn't do it, offender.
Now, you know, Lestrade, it's just possible that Mrs. Klutz may be right.
Huh?
You see, it would take several hours for acid to dissolve the corpse as far as this.
What of it? Her fingerprints are on the knife. That's enough for me. Hers and no one else's.
And why shouldn't me fingerprints be on that knife? It's my own kitchen knife, ain't it?
Well, that knife, suppose you look at it again.
Now, what in blazes good?
Notice the order of the fingerprints, for instance. Thumb and forefinger near the blade end of the handle. Now, suppose you take this pocket knife of mine and pretend to stab me with it.
Now, this is just a lot of... all right.
There, now, you see? Notice the way you hold it? Thumb against the outer end, little finger next to the blade. In other words, the grip for using a knife for kitchen work and for stabbing are exactly reversed. Dr. Lacey was not stabbed with this knife at all. It was put here by someone to incriminate Mrs. Klutz.
Yes, but if she didn't do it, who did?
Someone who wanted to get rid of her. You any idea who that could have been, Mrs. Klutz?
No, sir. That I haven't. The only person mean enough to do a thing like this was that son of a gun, Lacey. And he's dead now, Lord rest his soul. Oh, dearie me, it's not bad enough having a murder in my own house and then losing my best lodger. But the police have to go accusing me on top of it all. Like as not, I'll never get another tenant of these rooms. Oh, dearie me.
And all that is so much froth, my dear Mrs. Klutz, compared to the real danger you're in.
What's that?
The murderer. He's still at large, and he isn't exactly fond of you. I think I'll just drop in from time to time to make sure you haven't been murdered in your bed.
Really think Mrs. Klutz is in danger?
Obviously, Watson, obviously. Confounded, why doesn't she answer the bell? If anything's happened, here she comes.
Oh, good afternoon, gentlemen. Please to step inside. I'd have come to the door sooner, but I was upstairs cleaning out Dr. Lacey's suite. Would you believe it? I've got a tenant.
You don't say. Well, does he know its history?
Yes, sir, that he does, but he says he's not superstitious.
Oh, how fortunate. What's he like?
Well, he's a German. Professor or something. Come here to carry on some experimenting with Dr. Lacey. Dr. Lacey told me he was expecting him only last week. And so when he come asking for Lacey this morning, and I told him what had happened, right away he asked if Dr. Lacey's notes and instruments were still here. And when I said yes, he said he'd move right in and carry on where Lacey left off. Would you mind coming upstairs while I finish my work?
Well, lead the way, Mrs. Klutz, lead the way.
He's a nice-looking man, too. Blonde with a beard. He limps a little. Oh, it'll be a relief, I tell you, after that, Lacey. He was getting queerer and queerer going out at all hours of the night. I declare I was on the verge of telling the police to keep an eye on him more than once. Well, here we are. Just you sit on the sofa. Now what in the name of...
Well, from what I can see out of the window, I should say that your new lodger has arrived.
Thanks, preserve us. Excuse me, gentlemen, when I let him in.
Holmes, I think we'd better be going.
In a moment, Watson, in a moment. Plenty of time.
This way, please. Look up to the ten stairs. Oh, my, ain't it hot? Oh, Mr.
Holmes.
This is Herr Gluck.
Professor Glucksbader, zum Befehl.
How do you do?
Delighted. Sorry I had to come all this way and then find a friend dead.
He is no friend. He is what you call a colleague. Mrs. Klutz, the portmanteau on the bed.
Yes, sir.
Well, I know Mrs. Klutz will make her comfortable. I trust you had better luck than Dr.
Come, Watson, come. We must be going. You see, Professor Glucksbader, we were the detectives on this case.
Don't you have found?
Nothing, I'm afraid, nothing. Oh, these are my notes on the case. I'm really rather ashamed of them. Would you mind if I burn them here in your fireplace?
Oh, not at all.
Thank you. Oh, dear me. I don't seem to have a match.
1 moment, I'll get you some here in the drawer of this table. Here you are. A nice little box.
Thank you, Dr. Lacey.
Huh?
I thought you would know where to find them. A place for everything and everything in its place. Yes, I was sure you would be drawn back to these rooms.
Me? You think I am Dr. Lacey? He is dead, murdered.
No, that wasn't Dr. Lacey in that tub of acid. It was one of the bodies he had stolen from St. Anthony's. It had a rather curious conformation of the bones of the right foot. I've seen it the night before, so of course I recognized it. Your misfortune, Dr. Lacey.
But his foot, sir. What is all this rubbish?
Well, you see, it came to my attention not long ago that Professor Moriarty was getting in touch with quite a number of heavily insured businessmen. One after another, these men died. But by and by, the insurance companies became suspicious. I was told to investigate. I discovered that on several occasions, Professor Moriarty had called on Dr. Lacey. Dr. Lacey, who was experimenting with facial surgery. Dr. Lacey, who had access to any number of corpses from St. Anthony's. Well, in time, I began to suspect that Dr. Lacey was working on these dead bodies and transforming them so they would look like the gentlemen who wished to collect their insurance. Professor Moriarty made a handsome profit, I believe. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't prove my theory.
Gosh, it is crazy. No one would believe it.
Oh, so I found.
Then what good does it do you?
Just this. When you're in prison, the whole scheme will fall to the ground.
But I am not Dr. Lacey. You have no proof.
There you are wrong, sir. This little matchbox which you just handed me contains all the proof that I need. On it is a set of fingerprints, which is identical with some on the cabinet door in the laboratory of St. Anthony's. And those fingerprints are known to be Dr. Lacey's.
Holmes, it's magnificent.
Elemental.
Phenomenal.
Elemental, my dear Watson, elemental.
So it's actually much more entertaining to be able to listen along with you guys rather than having to listen to these before the show and then just kind of recall them. It's really, it's really nice not to have like this faint whining in the background that I can't even. I made up the phrase "squinting with your ears" earlier today,
which I enjoyed greatly.
Yeah, I figured you would. You like all degenerate things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm glad the audio is better for you guys. Glad everyone's enjoying it. Hopefully this will be one of the last big audio changes that I have to make for a while. Next week they discontinue Skype. Motherfucker.
Right.
Anyway, don't know if some of you caught it in my tweet, but I am due for my annual rotation around the sun at midnight this evening, so I'm glad to spend that time with you guys. Obviously, we will not be doing a show tomorrow because it's Thursday, but Saturday we do have Gilbert Deltrez on for Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters to promote that book. Sunday, we haven't really figured out what we're going to do.
Did you say that? Did you say that one right?
No, I didn't. No, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. Shit. It's the whiskey. Blame the whiskey. Sorry, Gilbert. Sorry, Don.
Always. No, you're getting the week mixed up. Because the 31st, we're having Ken Meyer Jr., the artist for Clint, to come on and talk with us.
Yeah, we do. And then Sunday, we'll be looking at something, probably. Probably the backside of a hangover, but we'll see.
Probably.
Anyway, up next, we've got Murder by Proxy on the agenda. Everybody seems to be doing well with the audio. Novel Bro brings up that Moriarty is the king of classic nemesis. Basically, the best antagonist an author could dream of. Yeah, he's a pretty good one. He's almost like a Chekhov's gun. You eventually have to get to an altercation, but God, you could go a really long time in a lot of Holmes stories without ever actually encountering Moriarty. Little side story, one of my favorite movies, The Fifth Element, because who doesn't love that movie? A lot of people don't realize the main bad guy, played by, oh God, what's his name? Gary Oldman. The main good guy played by Bruce Willis. They never actually meet one another. They never encounter one another.
Yeah.
The closest thing they do is they cross paths. Like they
like walk past each other, right?
Yeah, like with a
literally
wall,
just,
like with the
walk
door in
past each
between
other.
them. Yeah, like with the door in between them. But yeah, there's
It's been a
no
while since I've seen that movie.
there's no encounter between the two of them. A lot of minions fighting minions, a lot of that, but good guy and the bad guy never actually encounter one another, but they're working they're working opposed to one another the entire movie, and it's amazing. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump back into this. We're making good time. I don't want to fuck it up. Nick Ricada is going to be on with Ty Beard tonight, and even though it's my birthday, I know that I cannot. Well, it's my birthday at midnight. I can't compete with that. So we'll go ahead and get on to Murder by Proxy right now.
Every week at this time, the makers of G. Washington's Coffee bring you a story from the Sherlock Holmes series of mystery dramas. This week's adventure is an adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story entitled The Final Problem. Remember as you listen to it that G. Washington solves your daily coffee problem just as surely as Holmes solves his famous mysteries. At the end of the program, we have a brief announcement about Dr. Watson and his friend Sherlock Holmes. Please listen for it. And that opening paragraph, as always, leads us to Dr. Watson's comfortable, hospitable study.
Where there's a blazing fire and a steaming cup of G. Washington coffee to welcome you. Here it is, Mr. Bell. Made it as you came up the steps.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. You know, a good cup of coffee always seems to me to be the very essence of hospitality.
You name me a better coffee than G. Washington's, Mr. Bell. Go ahead, name me one.
But seriously, G. Washington's isn't just another brand of coffee. It's really entirely different. It not only has a perfect flavor, but it's the easiest coffee to fix. Just a teaspoonful in the cup, add hot water, and incidentally, you never make more than you're going to use, so that makes it economical, too.
Right, Mr. Bell. Now, suppose I begin my story.
Fine. What's it to be this time?
How about another tussle between Holmes and Professor Moriarty?
Excellent. Always gives me plenty of first-class shudders to meet that individual.
Well, tonight's story deals with Holmes' efforts to break up one of his most unpleasant schemes. A racket, you'd call it today.
And did he succeed?
Oh, no, Mr. Bell, that's putting the cart before the horse. The affair began with a series of curious disappearances from St. Anthony's Hospital.
Well, what disappeared, Dr. Watson? People or things?
They were corpses, or perhaps I should say cadavers. Oh. Now, before I go any farther, perhaps I should explain that St. Anthony's is a medical school and hospital combined. I myself took my course in anatomy and dissection inside its venerable walls. Sir Lionel Greatlake, the head of the staff, was an old friend of mine. We cursed our internship in the same hospital. But to make a long story short, I received a frantic communication from Sir Lionel begging me to persuade Holmes to come straight to the hospital. I remember that night perfectly. A particularly nasty pea super had settled down over London. Literally feeling our way, we crept along the embankment till we sensed, rather than saw, the grey walls of St. Anthony's looming up ahead. Do foghorns always have to sound so mournful?
Well, Watson, you would insist on coming tonight.
No, the staff entrance should be somewhere along here. And here it is. I stumbled over the doorstep. Where is that infernal bell? Oh, here we are. I hope the night watchman hasn't gone off in his rounds.
No, someone's opening the door.
Thank you, Watson. The fog, I can't see very clearly.
Oh, it's me right enough, Leo. I brought Sherlock Holmes along with me.
Oh, thank heavens. But come in, come in.
Holmes, this is my old friend, Lionel Greatlake.
Oh, delighted.
Honored, and I may say grateful and relieved. This is the 6th theft inside of a month, Mr. Holmes. It's got the place in an uproar. Nurses having hysterics, patients insist on going home.
I take it you're alluding to the cadavers which have been stolen recently.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, you know how jealous a hospital is of its reputation. The least little breath of scandal
Oh, cheer up, Leo. Maybe it's just a prank of one of the lads. You know what medical students are.
That's what I thought when we found the first body missing 4 weeks ago. But now that 5 have been stolen, oh no, that's carrying a joke too far. They tried to get away with another this evening.
Really?
I just happened to drop into the dissecting room in time to stop it. The minute I opened the door, I knew someone was in there, but he slipped out the side way before I could light the gas. But come and see for yourself. Follow me. The laboratories are in this wing.
Old mausoleum. Looks familiar, Leo. Remember when we used to sneak a forbidden smoke behind that broom closet?
I wish to heaven life were as simple nowadays. Deuced place is like a beehive, buzzing with suspicion. No wonder we've been able to keep it out of the papers. Here we are. Just 1 second till I unlock the door. That's it. Now, just let me turn up the gas. Well, there we are.
Quite impressive. I see you have all the latest improvements. Oh, that gentleman in the corner. I take it he was the object of tonight's attempted abduction.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, that's the corpse. Splendid specimen, too.
Face a bit the worse for wear. Otherwise, a splendid body.
Yes, we were most anxious not to lose him.
He must be fairly recent. I see there have been no injections of the preserving fluid.
Quite right, Mr. Holmes. He died only this afternoon.
And the other stolen bodies? They have been duly preserved, I suppose.
Well, no. Now that you mention it, they were all stolen before being treated.
Curious, eh, Watson?
Well, I don't know. I suppose if you're going to be a body snatcher, you may as well take fresh ones.
You'll pardon me if I rummage around a bit, Sir Lionel?
Of course, of course.
Yes, I can carry on my interrogations and my investigations at the same time. Okay, there. My lens needs polishing. Now then, male or female?
What?
The stolen bodies, were they male or female?
Oh, male, all of them.
You don't say. Interesting, eh, Watson?
You mean you think the thief's a woman hater?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as that. What age are the missing corpses?
Oh, I don't know. Middling, I should say. Remarkably good lot of bodies, though. No marked defects, I mean.
Here's a lad that's been careless about cleaning his instruments.
Oh, that'll be Potter. Has some girl on his mind. Can't wait to get washed up and away.
I see. And you found this specimen out here after the thief was scared off, huh? I take it the cadavers aren't usually left lying about.
Oh, certainly not. They're kept in that long steel cabinet over there. Can't be too careful, you know. Have to be rats in a building as old as this.
I'm here. How many people have keys to that cabinet, Sir Lionel?
Only Dr. Lacey. You may know him by reputation, Mr. Holmes. Hugo Lacey. He's our head surgeon and has charge of the classes in dissecting.
Of course. Brilliant fellow. I say, Leo, how's he coming along with his experiments in transplanting tissue?
Can't say. Carries on most of his experiments in a little laboratory he's fixed up in his own lodgings. Never lets anything out till it's perfect. One of the cleverest surgeons in the country, Mr. Holmes. Magnificent touch. I could wish, however, that he was a better professor.
No good at teaching, eh?
No, it isn't that. It's his temper. He can be devilish nasty. And let him catch one of the lads with an instrument bent out of place. Oh, it's a phobia with him, Mr. Holmes. A place for everything and everything in its place. I trust young Potter sets his things to right before Lacey sees them.
Oh, this is the door through which the thief escaped, I take it.
Yes, I bolted it on the inside, as you can see.
Well, that's that. I think I've seen all there is to see.
Found anything, Holmes?
Yes. There's what you might call an overabundance of clues. Too many to permit of any intelligent deductions.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, there are 14 sets of fingerprints, for instance. And in the dust, under that operating table alone, I found shreds of 5 different types of tobacco.
Dear me, I'm afraid Mrs. Clutz is getting careless again. Oh, she's the cleaning woman, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Lacey is always complaining that she's inefficient. Well, Mr. Holmes, if you've finished your investigation, perhaps you can advise us how we should act in this matter.
Now, before I do that, suppose we come to an understanding. Would you be satisfied merely to stop the thefts, or do you want to know who is responsible for the missing corpses?
We must find out everything, Mr. Holmes. Who and what and how and why. A mystery of any kind is most demoralizing for a hospital.
Well, in that case, we should do nothing further.
Oh, but Holmes...
We shall do nothing further tonight.
But aren't you going to set a watch on
If
this
we did, the criminal wouldn't show up. You may take my word for it, Sir Lionel. The man who has been stealing your cadavers is thoroughly acquainted with the workings of this hospital.
Look here, Mr. Holmes. If we don't set a guard on this room, he may steal this body, too.
I sincerely hope so.
Well, no use making things too easy for him. At least we can put the body back in the cabinet.
Unfortunately, that won't be possible. We can't open it. The cabinet has a spring lock. The thief slammed it after him.
Oh, dear. What will Lacey say when he finds this corpse out here in the morning?
Well, I don't think there's much danger of that, Sir Lionel.
Really, Mr. Holmes, I'm disappointed. I must say I hoped you would be more helpful.
Well, there's one thing we can do for you before we leave, eh, Watson?
No, what?
Well, we can make up for Mrs. Clutch's deficiencies. If you'll get us a couple of old rags and Lionel, I think Watson and I can go over this room in no time.
Holmes, have you gone out of your mind?
Not at all, my dear Watson, not at all. It's most important that everything should be neat and tidy. Oh, it's a nice brisk day, eh? Wind seems to have dissipated all the fog.
What's the idea of routing a chap out of his nice warm bed and the streets still deserted? Very depressing, if you ask me.
The important thing, my dear Watson, is in setting a trap is to collect your catch before anyone else does. Oh, here's St. Anthony's. Hello. Sir Lionel seems to be having a bit of an argument with someone on the steps.
And I won't be put off the schedule by any sort of a detective, you see. I'm going home now to fix Dr. Lacey's breakfast, but I'll be back. And when I do, I'm going to clean that room.
But, Mrs. Clutch, I assure you
A
that...
fine one you ought to be put in charge. Everyone knows routine is what keeps an hospital running.
Holmes. Oh, Watson, Mr. Holmes, I didn't see you. Come in.
Watson Anthony's coming to you, I'd like to know. Out of me way, you.
What? Here, I beg your pardon.
I'm
madam.
not to be put off my schedule, I'll tell you that. My soul, when I...
Yes, that was Mrs. Clutch.
So I gathered.
Bit of a termagant, eh, Leo? Red hair, fairly blazes.
But come in. Sorry to give you such a stormy welcome, but I just caught Mrs. Clutch about to clean up the laboratory. I suppose you want to take another look at the place.
If it's convenient.
Yes, of course. Follow me.
I wonder why the sudden burst of energy on Mrs. Clutch's part.
Dr. Lacey may have been putting the screws on. They get along like cat and dog, those two.
But didn't I just hear her say that she was going home to fix him his breakfast?
Yes, you see, Dr. Lacey is Mrs. Clutch's star lodger.
But surely if...
So apparently, Murder by Proxy and The Final Problem are the same episode in the files that I have. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. Not sure how that happened. I guess we can just go ahead and skip to the Jewish breastplate.
Let's do it.
Although I will say, they are labeled differently. I wondered while listening to the replay in my earbuds, I was hearing like the original. I was like, wait a minute. Is it that far behind for me? No, it's just the same labeling on the files. Because, why could we have just a good episode without any technical issues whatsoever? That just wouldn't work.
That wouldn't be the gospel of comics.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't be the gospel radio. It wouldn't be the gospel of comics. We are here bringing you real boomer hours, folks, because we love you.
Exactly.
So, I will go ahead and start the Jewish breastplate. Hopefully, this is not the same episode again.
Beginning with this broadcast, the makers of G. Washington Coffee will bring you each week at this time a dramatization of one of the famous stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I don't know how many of our listeners will agree, but for us, this is a red-letter day, because it marks the beginning of another series of visits to the comfortable, firelit study of Dr. Watson, to hear his hair-raising reminiscences of Sherlock Holmes' adventures, and to drink his delicious G. Washington coffee. Dr. Watson was not with us last winter because he was taking what he called his sabbatical year. It seems that he spent a great deal of that time with a certain travel-worn and battered dispatch box in the vaults of Holton Company, private bankers in Charing Cross. Out of it, He has unearthed papers containing notes on Sherlock Holmes cases which have not been told previously on the air. So now we stroll down the quiet, tree-lined street. Yes, here's the house with its dark curtains. We turn in the neat little path. The familiar door with its brightly polished brass knocker opens to welcome us. And we find ourselves in Dr. Watson's well-remembered study. The easy chairs, the rows of worn books, the kettle steaming cozily on the hearth. Everything's just the same.
Even the old doctor?
Yes.
Well, this is like old times, isn't it, Mr. Bell?
Yes, Dr. Watson.
No idea how I've missed these little sessions of ours. But here, what more appropriate way to celebrate our reunion than by preparing a cup of our old favorite G. Washington coffee?
That's what I've been looking forward to, Dr. Watson. I see you have everything ready to make it.
Oh, that was very easy. The only preparation necessary was to heat the water.
Then I'll take the lid off the can.
Mm-hmm. A teaspoonful of G. Washington's coffee crystals in your cup, and one in mine.
Add the hot water.
Yes. There you are. Help yourself to cream and sugar.
Thank you. My, that's good. You're a perfect host, Dr. Watson.
No. You're pulling my leg. Being a good host of G. Washington's coffee, Mr. Bell's no trouble at all. It only takes a minute, and it's as easy to make as a slice of toast.
Or as easy to use as granulated sugar.
How's that for freshness and convenience?
Well, I'd say, like Sherlock Holmes, it couldn't be beat.
Oh, no. Another hint, Mr. Bell. Well, yes, we'd better get on with our story, I suppose.
What adventure are we to start off with tonight, Dr. Watson?
How'd it be if I tell you how Sherlock Holmes solved the case of the Hebraic breastplate?
Hebraic breastplate?
Yes, it was quite a famous museum piece. Some authorities went so far as to say it had been worn originally by King Solomon himself. At any rate, it was supposed to have a curse attached to it. To my own personal knowledge, it caused the death of 2 men and nearly robbed an eminent scholar of his good name.
Well, that sounds sufficiently ominous for anyone, Dr. Watson.
It was, Mr. Bell, it was. Why, even now, when I recall that night in the dark, deserted halls of the Belmore Street Museum, with the moonlight sliding slowly from one of those incredible mummy cases to the other. But there I go, anticipating myself as usual.
Well, anticipation or no, you're starting chills running up and down my spine.
Have I, indeed? Inconsiderate of me, wasn't it? Well, plenty of time for that later on. In any event, the whole thing started one foggy afternoon in March of the year 1894. You know the sort of day we have in London at that season? A yellowish fog blew in cold, dank waves down Baker Street. It was no day for venturing abroad, and yet that was just what I was planning to do. As I entered the sitting room of our lodgings in search of my top hat, I found the place in even wilder disorder than usual. In the midst of this chaos sat Holmes, his long tapering fingers and his hawk-like nose intent on a singularly unsavory mess of chemical abracadabra. Retorts seized and boiled. The weird blue flame of a Bunsen burner was reflected in his eyes. Say, Holmes, what a tense.
Quiet, Watson. Absolute quiet. Don't move. Don't breathe. A man's life depends on this test. Now, you see this deleted retort?
Yes.
The contents has the appearance of clear water. It is clear water, Watson, with the addition of an infinitesimal amount of an unknown substance extracted from a small stain on a man's coat sleeve. Is that substance blood, human blood? That's the important question. Now, we add a few white crystals and wait for the reaction.
Ooh, Oh, the water's changing color. It's turned a dull mahogany.
Yes, and there's a distinct brownish dust precipitated at the bottom of the retort. Magnificent. Positively magnificent, Watson. The old guaicum and microscopic test for the blood corpuscles was clumsy and uncertain. But this test, the Sherlock Holmes test, is infallible. The prisoner is guilty, Watson. Guilty as the devil. That brownish precipitate will hang him.
Holmes, you know, your scientific cold-bloodedness gives me the creep.
Nonsense, Watson, nonsense. You wouldn't hesitate to shoot down a hawk that had been preying on your livestock, would you? Why hesitate to destroy the criminal who's been fattening on the blood of human beings?
Must you be so graphic in your descriptions, Holmes? Where's my hat?
What hat?
My top hat, of course. I left it in here when I came in from visiting my patients this morning. How anyone can expect to find anything in all this litter...
And, Watson, if you can't keep track of your own wearing apparel, I'm sure that I can... Oh, that wouldn't be it by any chance.
Where?
There, on the floor by the desk.
Oh, I say, Holmes, you've used it as a wastepaper basket again.
Sorry, Watson, sorry, but if you will leave it about... what would you want with a hat this late in the afternoon? Surely you're not thinking of venturing out into this foul weather?
I am. I most certainly am. Furthermore, it may interest you to know that since you've become involved in this Treepop case, the house has smelled like a cross between a crate of distinctly senile eggs and a bear pit. The weather may be foul, but it's not as foul as the atmosphere of this room.
No idea you were so delicate.
Besides, I've just received an invitation from my friend Ward Mortimer to go round to the Belmore Street Museum and view the collection.
Indeed.
Mortimer's about to take over the curatorship, I believe.
Well, what's become of the old curator, Professor Andrews? He can't be much over 55, and the reputation of his management and lecture courses was excellent.
And he turned in his resignation at the last meeting of the Board of Trustees, I believe.
Yes, but for what reason?
Oh, something about failing eyesight. Felt they should have a younger man in charge of such a valuable collection. Promised to accompany Mr. Mortimer on his first tour of inspection this afternoon. They say the professor's a wonder. That's why I'm particularly anxious to go.
So now Ward Mortimer is trying to fill the professor's shoes, huh? I thought he was still excavating near Thebes in the Valley of the Kings.
Oh, no. After Mortimer exhumed what's believed to be the mummy of Cleopatra in the inner room of the Temple of Horns at Philae, he decided to come home.
So he found it, did he? Yes, I thought he might. Watson, I think I'll join you in your visit to the Belmore Street Museum.
But look here, Holmes, you weren't invited.
No matter, Watson, no matter. Ward Mortimer will be delighted to see me. It was I who suggested to him that he should dig at Philae for Cleopatra's remains. Besides, now that you mention it, the air in this room is a bit tainted. Yes, it might be as well to go elsewhere until the aroma clears away.
This is an unexpected pleasure.
I'm delighted to see you again, Mr. Mortimer. So you found the lady where I told you to look for her, huh?
You mean Cleopatra?
Yes.
Indeed I did. But how in the world you knew she was there is beyond me.
No, I keep telling him he's lucky he wasn't born a few centuries back. He'd have been burned for witchcraft.
Nonsense, Watson, nonsense. The whole matter was extremely simple. Merely the correct interpretation of an old papyrus that has never been correctly translated before. So that's beside the point. I believe we're here to see the treasures of the museum.
Of course. I'm a very neglectful host, I'm afraid. I don't believe you met Professor Andrews. Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, gentlemen?
This is a great privilege, Professor Andrews.
You're very kind, gentlemen. And this is my valued assistant, Captain Wilson, whom Mr. Mortimer has been trying to persuade to stay on. But Wilson has been invited to join an expedition that is intent on digging up dusty relics in Asia Minor.
We feel we have at last located the site of the ancient city of Troy. Just think what it would mean, gentlemen, to see the very halls where Helen lived, to walk the streets where Achilles, Hector...
There you are. It's what I call the digging fever. All archaeologists suffer from occurring attacks of it. But come, let us begin our tour of inspection. For me, this is at once a proud and a sad occasion. But in any event, my love of the collection is, I hope, greater than any personal regret. This museum needs the supervision and protection of a man in full possession of all his faculties.
Oh, no, Professor.
My failing sight. However, enough of that. There are 15 rooms in this museum, gentlemen, all given over to the treasures of the Orient. But this hall in which we are now standing, which contains the Jewish and Egyptian collections, is undoubtedly the pick of the lot. Now, let us take the Jewish side first.
Yes, indeed.
Here is what I believe to be the only authentic duplicate of the famous seven-branched candlestick of the temple, which was brought to Rome, as you know, by Titus, and which is lying at this instant somewhere in the mud in the bed of the river Tiber. And here in this case is perhaps the most valuable article in the entire museum. Now, where did I put the keys? This locker? Here we are.
I say, it is a beauty, whatever it is. 12 enormous stones, all different colors, like paint in a paint box, and set in gold. And each stone has some funny-looking scratches on its surface.
Those are ancient Hebrew hieroglyphics, Dr. Watson. This is the Urim and Thummim.
The Urim and what in?
Urim and Thummim was the name given to the jewel plate which lay on the breast of the high priest of the Jews, which fact you would remember, Watson, if you'd paid better attention in your Sunday school days.
No, really, Holmes.
Mr. Holmes is correct, gentlemen. The jewel breastplate of the high priest was held in a special reverence by the ancient Hebrews, somewhat as the Sibylline books were regarded in the capital of Rome. This particular Urim and Thummim is the most magnificent in existence. In fact, I believe I'm correct in saying that it belonged originally to Solomon himself. At any rate, those hieroglyphics are supposed to be the curse of Solomon.
Curse of Solomon? How sinister.
Yes, this breastplate is supposed to bring death to anyone who lays irreverent hands upon it. That is why no one but Captain Wilson and myself have been allowed to handle it.
I see. In other words, something has occurred which leads you to believe the curse is still in effect.
Well, I'm not what you would call a superstitious man myself. And yet, within a week of the time when that pack first came to this museum, the night watchman was found dead one morning with the breastplate in his hand.
You mean he'd attempted to steal it?
Probably. Jewels as magnificent as these are bound to be a great temptation. However, I must say that since the first calamity became known, it has been left entirely unmolested.
Yes, the stones are remarkably large. May I see them more closely, please?
Please, you must pardon me, Mr. Holmes, if I seem too cautious, but I would rather you didn't touch them. You see, I would like to bring my curatorship to a close without any further accident.
Oh, yes, it's quite understandable, I'm sure. I only wish to determine their classification.
Oh, I can tell you that. Counting from the top left-hand corner, the stones are carnelian, peridot, emerald, ruby, lapis lazuli, onyx, sapphire, agate, amethyst, topaz, beryl, and jasper. Captain Wilson, who is a practical authority upon precious stones, will tell you that these are remarkably pure.
Oh, quite.
And the gold work is also worthy of attention. If you'll observe closely the tiny pattern.
Pardon the suggestion, but you'll find a finer example of the Jewish gold work in the candlestick in the next case.
Quite so, Wilson, quite so. And we can all handle that quite freely. Come, gentlemen. Wilson, you will return this breastplate to its case, if you please.
Certainly, Professor Andrews.
And make sure the case is locked.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's the key.
Thank you.
And now, gentlemen, let's inspect this gold candlestick.
One moment, Professor. This mummy case, this is a recent acquisition, I take it.
Yes, certainly, but how did you know?
Oh, there is a tiny particle of Excelsior packing still on the floor.
So there is, Jeremy. I'm afraid the cleaning woman is getting careless again.
How about this mummy case? Surely it is of Egyptian origin, and yet you placed it here among the Judean relics.
Very nice point, Mr. Holmes. The mummy case is undoubtedly of Egyptian manufacture, and yet it was unearthed in the remains of Solomon's temple, probably the last resting place of some high priest who admired the Egyptian culture. These various Oriental civilizations often overlap.
Yes, but does the case still contain the mummy?
Oh, yes, indeed. Interesting coincidence, isn't it? The high priest returns to watch over the Urim and Thummim, which he wore some thousands of years ago. Destiny is a curious force, gentlemen. No one can gainsay it.
Oh, my God! Oh, what's that? For heaven! Listen! What's wrong? What's him? For heaven! He's having to go.
Quick! Someone, get a doctor! Get a doctor!
Too late, Professor Andrews. I'm afraid the poor chap's dead.
That's impossible.
Not entirely, Professor. The poor chap has something held tightly in his right hand. Now, let's find out what it is. It's extraordinary. Vigorous setting already. Yes, I can hardly extract the thing without breaking the fingers. Yes, Yes, just as I thought. It's the Jewish breastplate.
For the love of heaven, give it to me before something happens to it.
Oh, calm yourself, Professor. The curse has spent itself, at least for the time being.
That breastplate. I wish I'd never laid eyes on the accursed thing. Poor Wilson. What a horrible end to my term of office.
Professor Andrews, Wilson's death, if I am not greatly mistaken, is not an end to anything. It's just the beginning.
Look here, Holmes. Do you have to eat all the kippers?
I'm merely doing it to prevent you from blowing up, Watson. Your waistline's a disgrace. Here, pour me out another cup of coffee. There's a good chap.
Spoiled, that's what you are. Utterly and irrevocably spoiled. That was tragic, the sudden death of that poor young chap yesterday afternoon.
You mean Captain Wilson?
Well, who do you think I meant? Humpty Dumpty? Who'd have thought? To look at him, the fellow had a bad heart.
It wasn't his heart that caused his death, Watson. It was Solomon's curse.
Oh, now you're being fantastic.
Well, there's nothing fantastic about that curse, my dear Watson. It's very real and extremely efficacious.
What are you babbling about, Holmes?
The ancient Oriental poison in the little needle hidden in the back of that Jewish breastplate. No, the ancient Orientals knew a great deal more about poisons than we do, thank heaven.
You mean Captain Wilson was poisoned?
Oh, what do you think? You saw the tetanic convulsions, the extreme post-mortem rigor?
Jove, you may be right at that.
Maybe, I am right. Wilson was killed by the jolly little mechanism hidden at the back of the breastplate.
Yes, but if that needle thingamabob still works, oughtn't you to warn the authorities or something?
No, not necessarily. No use harrowing the poor old professor with the idea that the death of his guard and his assistant might have been prevented.
Yes, but what if someone else gets himself punctured?
Well, that's not very likely, Watson. You see, I took the precaution of removing the little pin before I handed the thing back to Professor Andrews.
Well, then, if the danger's removed, what made you say that Wilson's death was just the beginning of the trouble?
Now, come in. Ah, Mrs. Hudson, and in the role of Hermes, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's she?
He, Mrs. Hudson. He, Hermes, was the messenger of the Greek god.
You mean the one with the feathers on his head and on his feet?
Yes.
I'll thank you not to compare me with the likes of him, Mr. Holmes. I've got more clothes on, I hope.
Oh, yes, quite. I was merely alluding to the letter you have in your hand, addressed to me, if I am not mistaken.
It is that. And what's more, it is urgent. Come by hand, it is. The messenger's waiting in a cab outside.
I don't say. Well, let's see what it's all about. Dear Mr. Holmes, we have been robbed. Come at once. Signed, Ward Mortimer. Well, Watson, get your hat. You will have the answer to your question, and I hardly hope it will come so soon, though.
As you can see, Mr. Holmes, the breastplate has been tampered with. Someone must have done it during the night. The settings of the first 6 stones are rough and jagged, as if someone has scraped around them.
Looks to me as if someone had been trying to take out the stones, Holmes?
My fear is that he not only tried, but succeeded, Dr. Watson. And these 6 stones are imitations.
You may put aside your fears on that score, Mr. Mortimer. I'll stake my reputation that all 6 of these stones is genuine.
Thank heaven for that. Then what in the world does the thief want?
Well, perhaps if we consult Professor Andrews in the matter, we might...
I tried to get in touch with him, but it seems that he left for Scotland last night.
Pity. Did the watchman hear anything in the night?
I've questioned him thoroughly, I promise you. He made his rounds 4 times as usual, but at no time did he see or hear anything amiss.
And yet this job must have taken the better part of 8 hours to complete. Now, could the thief have entered through the windows?
Possible. All heavily barred. Furthermore, I myself attended to the locking and bolting of the main door last night. All the locks and bolts were intact this morning.
And that skylight up there, now, where does that lead?
That goes on to the lumber room, Mr. Holmes. But it's remained unopened for years, as you can see by the dust on it.
Well, what other openings are there to the museum?
There's the door to my private room, but even that is locked at night. And in order to reach it, anyone from the street would have to open my outer door as well.
And neither you nor the watchman heard anything.
Not a thing.
Significant. Very significant. Yes, Watson, I think a night spent in the lumber room upstairs is indicated. The work is not finished. 6 of the stones remain untouched. And I'm very anxious to see the intruder who can slide through a locked door and who is completely invisible to your night watchman, Mr. Mortimer. Watson, it creaks like a rusty hinge.
Found it. It's as dark as the inside of my pocket up here. Oh, I've stumbled over something.
Yes, that, if I'm not mistaken, is the skylight we've discovered. Yes, sir. Yes, I can feel the glass.
It's so covered with dust, you can't see a thing. But let me wipe it off.
Stop. Leave it alone. We don't want to be visible to anyone from below.
But how in...
I'll clear off a peephole for you and one for myself. Now, if you lie down on the floor and put your eye to that...
But in my best trousers, the place is filthy.
Well, here's some sacking I brought along.
Oh, all right. But I must say, confound that dust.
What? You sound like a 21-gun salute. Do you want to frighten the thief?
But I didn't do it on purpose.
The moonlight shining in through the window down there is extremely bright, thank heavens.
How weird everything looks in that light. That mummy case seems almost alive. Say, Holmes, what's that curious evil glow directly below us? Like many-colored eyes.
Those are the gems in the Jewish breastplate.
But only 6 of them seem to be on fire.
Yes, for the very good reason that only 6 of them are real.
But you said...
Never mind what I said. Keep your eye on that breastplate.
It's 11 o'clock, Holmes.
Yes, we won't be able to wait much longer.
Holmes, the head on that mummy case. Look, it's moving.
Good Lord, so it is. The lid is sliding back. The mummy case is opening up.
Holmes, there's a hand in the opening. A white, thin hand of a mummy. What if it's the high priest? Well, Holmes, let's get out of here. I
don't move, Watson. Don't breathe. It's not a mummy. It's a man. A small, thin man. He's stealing out of the mummy case like a fox out of his burrow.
Turns his head quickly from left to right. I can't see the face. Holmes. He's slinking to the case that contains the breastplate. He raises the lid. Oh, his face is in the moonlight. Good Lord, it's Professor Andrews.
Oh, he says you confounded. He's trying to get away. Wait the glass, Watson. We must stop through and catch him. There, hold him out, Watson.
Oh, no, you don't. I've got you.
Hold him up. Light the gas.
I'm coming. Have you got him?
Yes, light the gas. Don't let him go, Watson.
No fear. Good Lord, it's Professor Andrews.
Of course, I knew it from the first.
Still on the thief.
Oh, no, you're wrong, Mortimer. Professor Andrews is not the thief. The thief is dead.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Really, my conduct is entirely reprehensible. I realize that I am not a thief. In fact, I didn't realize the jewels had been stolen until I found them in Captain Wilson's effects after his death.
Yes, I knew they were false when I saw them yesterday afternoon, Professor. I didn't want to spoil your last day in office.
Oh, that was very kind of you, Mr. Holmes. When Wilson stole them, I don't know. You see, my eyesight has been failing for some time, and although I used to be a very good judge of precious stones...
Yes, but Holmes, you told me yourself this morning that those jewels were real.
Only the first 6, my dear Mortimer. Only the first 6. Professor Andrews replaced those last night. Unfortunately, his handiwork was not as neat as Wilson's had been. Due probably to his failing eyesight, and you were able to detect it.
Yes, but Professor Andrews, when you found the jewels, why didn't you inform the police?
What good would that have done? It would have discredited my whole regime and blackened the name of Captain Wilson. No, surely he's paid the punishment of his crime. Furthermore, I owed it to him. After all, I knew of that poisoned needle. I thought the mechanism to control it wouldn't work. It is true, but I should have had it removed.
Don't blame yourself too severely, Professor. The cause of Wilson's death goes further back than any of us remember. Back to the curse of Solomon. After all, he had laid profane hands upon the breastplate of the high priest, and the wrath of the god of Judea is not to be taken lightly.
So, I don't have a channel tomorrow. It was because of that episode, guys. Just saying. Yeah. There was a lot of mention of Jay Gold. That episode. Pretty sure Sherlock Holmes assembled the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, that was a roller coaster of an episode, wasn't it?
That was, yeah. It's actually nice being able to listen to these. You know? Yeah. Instead of just catching like the really loud parts. So we have
always annoying with these old archive recordings.
Oh yeah, they always have some audio issues. Like I think this one's actually probably one of the first ones. Got some kind of static in the background that you can't get past, but it's the Devil's Foot. We have to play it. Subsequent episodes, I'm understood to be the Devil's Athlete's Foot, the Devil's Toe Jam. That was a bad joke.
Now is Sherlock going to use the Infinity Gauntlet that he assembled and presumably forged out of J Gold, to get extra power to get rid of the Devil's Athlete's Foot?
No, that's to get rid of Captain Marvel. In case she shows up. Anyway. All onwards and upwards from here are for hearing the recordings real time. Roido trees. I was talking about that in the chat with Novel Bro. Before I started listening to Nick Ricada, Ethan Ralph, Dick Masterson, Mr. Medicare, all these guys, Thanos won't need to snap for that shit. I listen to audiobooks, and for those that don't know, Roy Dotrice was the guy that read all the Song of Ice and Fire books. And he died before the last two could be written and come out. So, kind of a sad day. Sad day. I'm sure they will be well read, whoever does the next audiobooks, but just, I don't know. I'm going to miss Roy Dotrice, man. He just had the perfect voice for those books. He just sounded tired all the time.
You mean like we do?
Yeah. Well, no. He actually sounded decent and tired.
Oh, okay.
Usually I just sound drunk, and you sound like a robot. Which I'm not going to say anything right now, but we're longer into the show without you sounding like a tin can than we have ever been.
I know. I think I got this figured out. So take that, Ixel.
I don't know, man. What will your gimmick be then?
I don't know. I mean, occasionally my actual physical voice will go out when I smoke too many cigars in a week. Like, all of a sudden, my voice will just kind of, stop working for a second.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I could just start smoking more cigars than I already do.
Yeah, you crumple some paper while you're talking so I can't understand you. Right up by your microphone, just start crumpling paper.
You mean like something like that?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Nobody will even notice the difference. Ian Glenn.
Sorry, folks. I was going through a tunnel.
Ian Glenn will do them as he did recordings for George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire prequel books, most notably Dangerous Women, story of the first Blackfire Rebellion. Yeah, that was a good one. I've been listening to A World of Ice and Fire lately. Oh, I like Jorah. Jorah's fantastic. And I could listen to him read me an Ice and Fire book, so I think that might work. I didn't know that. I appreciate you you letting me in on that novel, bro. That's that actually reinvigorates me a little bit. Right? But I suppose we should go ahead and get into this next episode. Not sure if we're going to do 4 tonight because of the 11-minute blunder on my behalf, but we will get through this one and see where we're at. Without further ado, we'll listen to The Devil's Foot.
Hosea. Matter of fact, the adventure I'm going to relate was one of the most gruesome experiences I ever hope to encounter. I never think of it if I can help. Oh, perhaps I'd better not tell it after all. Brings up memories that I'd rather...
Now come, Dr. Watson, you're not going back on us now. The Cornish Horror, or The Adventure of the Devil's Foot. That was the name, wasn't it?
Yes, the Devil's Foot. The very word still makes my spine tingle with horror. Oh, well, I'll get on with it.
Good.
It was the spring of the year 1897. Holmes' iron constitution had shown some signs of giving way due to a particularly arduous and nerve-wracking winter. In March of that year, Dr. Moore Ager of Harley Street gave positive injunctions that Holmes get out into the country for protracted rest. Holmes demurred first, but I finally persuaded him. Well, the third week in March found us settled in a small cottage near Pordew Bay, the further extremity of the Cornish Peninsula.
Isn't that rather bleak country for a convalescent, Dr. Watson?
Bleak is putting it mildly. I've never known such grim surroundings. I've seen Holmes admirably.
Just his natural perverseness, I suppose.
Oh, I dare say. Our little whitewashed house stood on a grassy headland. From its windows, we looked down upon the whole sinister semicircle of Mount Bay, and that old death trap with its fringe of black cliffs and surge-swept reefs. On the land side, our view was as somber as on the sea. Country of rolling moor, lonely and dun-colored. In every direction, there were traces of some vanished race, which had left as its sole record strange monuments of stone. Holmes spent most of his time puttering round about these weird ruins. Well, everything was going along peacefully until one morning our simple and healthy routine was violently interrupted, and we were precipitated into the midst of a series of gruesome and nerve-shattering events.
Quite a surf this morning, eh, Watson? You can see the spray flung up against our windows, and we're a good 100 feet above sea level. I don't think I shall venture out today. Bad weather. The old boy is certainly lashing himself into a fine frenzy.
What do you mean, the old boy?
The devil, Watson. The devil himself.
What are you raving about?
Didn't I tell you that the natives hereabouts refer to that seething death trap down there as the devil's cauldron? They think the old gentleman himself lives there.
Dear me, how unsettling.
Yes, a very interesting superstition. You know, Watson, that this locality is supposed to have been the last resort of devil worship in England. Many scientists believe that those huge prehistoric monuments of stone were part of a temple given over to the Prince of Darkness.
Preposterous.
I don't know. As logical as most of the theories that endeavor to explain their existence. The superstition goes on to say that when the devil was finally driven from his temple, he took refuge in the bay down there. Yes, they claim that on stormy nights you can hear his hoofbeats as he races up and down the rock.
Hey, Holmes, what are you trying to do? Give me a case of nerves?
No, what's this? Someone running up our path. His smoke flapping about like a giant's bat.
Why, it's that Tregennis fellow, the one who boards with the vicar.
What about Tregennis, eh? You wonder what's happened. Face as white as sheet. Open the door, Watson, open the door.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Thank heaven I find you at home. The most terrible thing has happened. I can scarcely believe
Sit
it.
down, my dear fellow. Sit down. Sit down. Yeah, that's better. Now, perhaps you can tell us what's happened. Slowly, take your time.
My family, my sister and my two brothers. It's too terrible. Why, just last night I was with them at the house. The Danny Quarter, it's called. All well and happy, with great cards. And now, without warning, I can't believe it.
Again, it's easy. Perhaps if you can manage to give us a few of the facts.
I left them there last night. My sister Brenda and my two brothers, Owen and George.
Now, what time is that?
The clock in the church steeple over at Poggy was chiming 10 o'clock as I closed the door behind me. I had left them all in the card room, laughing and in good spirits. And this morning, being an early riser, I was out taking a walk before breakfast when Dr. Richard overtook me in his carriage with the news that he'd been sent for on a most urgent call from Sedanic Quarter. Something terrible happened to my family. I jumped in beside him and he whipped up the horses.
And what did you find at Sedanic Quarter?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, it was terrible. It ghastly. My two brothers and my sister there in the card room just as I had left them. But what a change, what a ghastly change.
Yes.
Brenda lay back, stone dead in her chair. And my two brothers sat on each side of her, laughing and shouting and singing. The senses sticking clean out of them, and all three of them. My dead sister and my two demented brothers retained upon their faces an expression of ghastly horror, a convulsion of terror. Oh, how terrible. Yes. Dr. Richard was so overcome at the sight and fell fainting into a chair.
Anyone else in the house besides your sister and brothers?
Only Mrs. Porter, the old housekeeper. He said there's nothing during the night.
I presume it was she who found him this morning.
Yes, she always goes through the house in the morning, airing it out before the family comes down. When she reached the card room, she found them. The shock was too much for her. She had a nervous collapse. They had to put her to bed. I don't wonder.
Most exceptional case. Most exceptional.
That's what we thought. With the time, no traces of strangers in or around the house. Nothing was stolen, nothing touched. The vicar believes you're the only one who can solve the case, Mr. Holmes. You insisted I come to you.
I'd be only too glad to handle the matter, of course. But first I must ask you a few questions.
Anything, Mr. Holmes, anything.
To begin with, Mr. Tregennis, why do you live with the vicar separated from your family? Any coldness or misunderstanding?
Well, as a matter of fact, we did have a slight argument a few years ago. About some property it was. But that was all settled long ago. We were on the best of terms.
Right. Now, Mr. Tregennis, if I will call anything at all, that was out of the ordinary.
There was one thing that occurred to me.
Yes.
As we sat at the card table, my back was to the window. George was facing me. Suddenly I saw him look hard over my shoulder out of the window. I turned quickly, and just for a moment I thought I caught a glimpse of something moving.
Man or animal?
I don't quite know. My brother said he had the same feeling.
You investigated?
No, Mr. Holmes, we did not.
Oh, my.
It seemed totally unimportant. Silly, in fact.
You had no premonition of evil?
No, Mr. Holmes. Would to heaven we had. It's uncanny, that's what it is. Something came into that room, and that something killed my sister and dashed the light of reason from my brother's minds. Something devilish it was.
That should prove to be the case. I fear I shall be of very little assistance, Mr. Tregennis. Come, Watson, come. I think perhaps you'd best go down to Sedanic Quarter at once.
This is the house, Mr. Holmes.
Whose carriage is this coming down the drive with the blinds down?
There's someone in it. Listen.
My brothers, my poor brothers. It's Dr. Richard's carriage. He's taking me to husband. It's so awful, my poor brothers.
Easy, Tregennis. Keep a stiff upper lip, man. We've got to find out who's responsible for this atrocity.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I'll do my best.
Stout fellow.
Which are the windows of the card room?
This one here.
Oh, my.
Holmes, look out. You've upset the water.
Oh, dear. How clumsy of me. Sorry, Tregennis. I'm afraid I've drenched your boots.
No matter, Mr. Holmes, no matter. Shall we go in?
Yes. I've seen all I need out here.
This way. Card room is over here.
You notice anything, Watson?
No, I can't say I do. This is the card room.
As I see, the window's still open. Housekeeper left it that way, I suppose.
Yes, she said it was locked on the inside when she came in.
Quite so. Candles quite gutted out. Yes, cards still on the table. They've not risen from their chairs, I take it. And you left about 10. Well, that sets the hour of death at sometime before 11. Fire burned out. A fire. Had they always a fire in this small room on a spring evening?
It was cold and damp last night, Mr. Holmes. The fire was lit shortly after my arrival.
That seems to be about all. No disturbance of any kind. Strange.
Oh, come along, Holmes. This thing gives me the jumps. There's something about the atmosphere. As though death was still hovering in the air.
I wonder.
What are you going to do now, Mr. Holmes?
I think I shall resume the course of tobacco poisoning which Watson so justly condemned. Come, Watson, come. We shall return to our cottage. Did anything occur to me, Mr. Guinness? I shall communicate with you. It won't do, Watson. It won't do. All the facts are negative.
I say, you think Mr. Guinness's account of his actions last night was truthful?
Quite, Watson, quite. Remember the incident of the spilt watering can? Well, I did that to obtain an impression of his foot.
I take it you succeeded.
I did. With that print as a sample, I was able to trace his movements last night. His story is correct. He left the house about 10, went straight back to the vicarage, and didn't return. Nor did anyone else enter or leave the house.
Then it must have been the man or the animal that they thought they saw in the bushes. He must have returned and frightened them to death.
There's no such man or animal, Watson. Last night was a dark night, and anyone who had the wish to frighten these people would have been compelled to put his face against the glass before he could be seen.
Well?
There's a 3-foot flower border outside the cardroom window. And there are absolutely no footprints in there.
Yes. What does that mean?
It means Mrs. Tregenna's sister and her 2 brothers were alone when death struck the sister down and drove the brothers insane.
Yes. Hold that. Why, that is supernatural.
I hope not, Watson. I hope not.
Look, Holmes. There comes another visitor at our house. A stranger this time. Big, savage-looking fellow. My word, look at that huge head with the deep eyes and the grizzled beard.
That, my dear Watson, is none other than the famous Dr. Leon Sterndale.
Sterndale? What's the lion hunter and explorer?
Exactly.
What's he doing in this neighborhood?
I've heard he owns a little cottage about 5 miles down the coast. He comes and lives there after by himself when he isn't off on one of his expeditions. Never mind, Watson. Never mind. I'll do the honors yourself. Come in, Dr. Sterndale. Come in.
Mr. Holmes, I presume?
Yes, right. This is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do? Mr. Holmes, I've come to you about the Tregenna's affair.
Oh, yes.
The police are utterly at a loss, but you have a keener brain.
Pardon me, Dr. Sterndale, but why are you so concerned in this affair?
Well, you see, as a matter of fact, during my many residences in this locality, I've come to know the family of Tregenna's very well. Their horrible fate has been a great shock to me, Mr.
Oh, so sorry.
As a matter of fact, I was on my way to Africa. I'd gotten as far as Plymouth when the news reached me this morning. I came straight back to help in the inquiry.
But that makes you lose your ship. One sailed for Africa this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken.
I can take the next.
When did you last see the Tregenna's family, Dr. Sterndale?
I saw Brenda, Miss Tregenna, 3 days ago, just as I was leaving for Plymouth.
Oh, so you've been in Plymouth the last 3 days?
Yes.
How'd you get the news so quickly? Surely the Plymouth paper didn't carry an account of the matter in this morning's edition.
I received a telegram.
Telegram? Might I ask from whom?
You're very inquisitive, Mr. Holmes.
That is my business, Dr. Sterndale.
Very well. The telegram was sent by the vicar, Mr. Roundcliffe.
Right, I see.
Now, Mr. Holmes, have you reached any conclusion?
Conclusion? Well, that would be a trifle premature. But I have every hope of bringing this matter to a satisfactory termination. Satisfactory to me, that is.
Would you mind telling me of your suspicions point in any particular direction?
I don't feel this is the moment to answer that question, Dr. Sterndale.
And I see that I've been wasting my time. I need not prolong this visit. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Close-mouthed fellow, that Dr. Sterndale, Holmes?
He told us more than he realized, Watson. But he knows even more.
How could he? If he was in Plymouth.
But was he, Watson? Was he? That statement is something for us to look into.
Say, Holmes, must you go on smoking that foul pipe?
Why not?
Oh, the atmosphere is so thick I can hardly see across the room as it is. Oh, Lord, I feel depressed. Who knows what evil thing is talking abroad in our neighborhood?
Now, light the lamp, Watson. It's the gathering twilight that makes you gloomy.
Oh, rubbish. Look here, Holmes.
Yes?
What about that Dr. Sterndale? Do you think he did it?
No, Watson. I've been in communication with the Plymouth Hotel. His story is correct. He had been there for the past 3 days. We did receive a telegram from the vicar this morning.
And he couldn't possibly have had anything to do with the Guinness tragedy last night. Oh, now what?
Open the door, Watson. Open the door. Oh, my dear vicar. Come in. Dear me. You look as though you've seen a ghost.
It tracked him down, the curse of the family. He's dead. Dead with that same look of terror on his face.
Who's dead?
Mortimer Guinness. In his study at the vicarage. My servant found him there, sitting beside his table. His face turned towards the window, and distorted with that same convulsion of fear that marked the features of his sister. Oh, my poor parish! Satan himself is loose among us. We're devil-ridden, Mr. Holmes, devil-ridden! This was his study, Mr. Holmes.
Depressing atmosphere.
It was worse. I had the servant open the window. He's quite ill from the shock, poor fellow. Oh, a terrible look on Tregenny's face, Holmes.
The whole body is contorted and convulsed in a very paroxysm of fear. You've never seen death in this form before, Watson?
Never.
You know of no poison that would have this effect?
Good heavens, no. You...
Lamp is lit. It's been burning over an hour. Notice the oil consumed. And yet darkness only just set in. Did anyone call at the vicarage this afternoon?
No, I was out myself, but my servant says he let no one in. Oh, then Tregenny was alone.
I wonder. The window was shut at the time of his death, but the lamp was lit. Curious. The window. Let me see, the window. Yes, by Jove, I think I found something.
What's that you're putting in your pocket, Holmes?
The lamp, of course, the lamp. Yeah, notice this powder, which is still in the base of the lamp. Red-brown powder. Give me an envelope, Watson, I must have suspected this powder.
Why are you so excited about the powder, Holmes?
Because it contains a solution of our mystery, Watson. It is the source and the solution.
I say, Holmes, you haven't touched your supper. Oh, what a foul night. The wind's rising again. Oh, his face is getting on my nerves.
Be quiet, Watson, be quiet.
I don't want to be quiet. I want to talk. I'm tired of sitting here listening to that wind and the roar of the surf down below. So, why did you send for Dr. Stern, then?
Because he is an authority on obscure African poison.
Poison? Why are you interested in poison?
Watson, there are two striking points in common in both cases under observation.
Yes?
In both cases, the atmosphere of the room had a curious effect on the persons who first entered it. The housekeeper and the vicar's servant both were overcome, as was the doctor who was called in.
That's right. I hadn't thought of that. The room was still stuffy when we entered.
Right. In each case, there was combustion going on in the room. The fire in the first place, and the lamp in the second. And the lamp was not necessary. It was still daylight when it was lit.
Yes, but don't you see?
Something was burned in each case, which produced an atmosphere causing strange toxic effects. An unknown poison.
Good heavens.
I believe we have a sample of that poison in the brown powder still in the base of the lamp.
But how are you going to prove it?
I'm going to burn some of that powder. And notice its effect. Just a small pinch of the powder. Perhaps you'd better leave the room, Watson.
Leave you alone in here? Certainly not.
I warn you, it's risky.
Oh, confound the wind. Well, come on, let's get on with this.
Very well. Place your chair opposite mine. Then we can watch each other for developments.
Right. Come along, I'm ready.
Good. I put a pinch of the powder into our lamp.
What a pleasant smell.
Musky. Supple. Nauseous.
Oh, listen to the wind. Holmes. I'm afraid. I don't know why. That wind. I can feel my hair rising. Holmes, you see it? That cloud bank, whirling, black and sinister. Oh, it's monstrous. It's concealing something. Something too pushes to imagine. Holmes, it's coming nearer. Nearer. Can't you smell it? Suffering sinister. Hear that? Holmes! Holmes! It's Proxy! I know what it is. I can see it. Oh, I can't stand it. It's too terrible.
Yeah, Watson, for the love of heaven, don't get in. Don't breathe. Yes, I'll smash the window. I'll smash it. Oh, there, that's better. Now breathe it, Watson. Breathe it in. Good, clean air. Oh, what a narrow escape. I had no idea it was so powerful. I know. It's a poison that affects the nerve centers of the imagination. The strain is enough to kill a man or drive him crazy. No. Someone's knocking at the door. And I thought it was spook. And the air seems to clean out. Good thing there was a high wind. Here, I'll close the shutters and draw the curtain. Yes, I may open the door. Very well. Come on. Mr. Holmes. You sent for me? Yes. Come in, Dr. Stanley. Come in.
You look rather pale, both of you.
Yes. We've just been conducting a little experiment. There's a poison that kills again. Yes, Dr. Stanley. Perhaps you'd like to tell us why you killed Mortimer Tregennis.
I? You can't prove it.
No? Now let me tell you how you did it. You came over to the vicarage late this afternoon. You didn't want anyone to know Gennis. He was to let you in himself, but how could you attract his attention? You brought some pebbles with you, pink pebbles, from a heap beside your house. You threw these at the study window. I found some of these pebbles on the windowsill. Gennis came downstairs, let you in himself. You had a talk with him. Made him light his lamp. Placed a pinch of the poison powder in the flame and left.
You're right, Mr. Holmes. I did kill Mortimer Tregennis. But I'm not guilty of the other atrocity. I swear I'm not.
I believe you, Dr. Sterndale. But you know who did do it. Perhaps you'd better tell us about it.
Very well. It was Mortimer Tregennis, huh? He admitted it before he died. Mr. Holmes, I have been in love with Brenda Tregennis for many years. We were to have been married when my work in Africa was finished. I've lived so long in places where man is a law unto himself, I took my own revenge. He killed Brenda. In cold blood, he killed her. I have nothing more to live for. By heaven, I'd do it again.
But how did Mortimer Tregennis get hold of the poison? It was something unusual, almost unknown.
Yes. It was powdered at Diaboli.
Diaboli? Devil's foot, eh?
Yes. A root found in Africa. It's shaped like a foot, half human, half toad-like. I have the only specimen in England.
And you showed it to Tregennis?
Yes. He was over the other afternoon when I was packing. He was interested in my African curiosities, particularly this powder. I thought no more of the matter until I received the vicar's telegram and learned how they had died. I returned at once. On looking into the tragedy, I was convinced Mortimer Tregennis was the murderer, and that he had done it to gain control of the family fortune. Now, there was a crime, but what was to be his punishment? What jury would believe such a fantastic story? No. I decided to take the law into my own hands. Perhaps, if you have ever loved anyone, you will know how I felt.
Dr. Sterndale, what were your plans when you set out for Plymouth?
I had intended to bury myself in Central Africa. My work is only half finished.
Go and finish the other half, Dr. Sterndale. I don't feel called upon to prevent you.
What a gruesome story, Dr. Watson.
Yes. Next to the famous Hound of the Baskerville adventure, that was the most gruesome experience we ever had.
There's just one thing I'd like to know. What did you think you saw in that cloud of smoke?
Mr. Dell, you'll have to believe me when I tell you that it was too horrible to mention. Just to think of it is enough to make my blood turn to water.
I don't wonder. Well, let's not think about it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, today those who need money for emergencies will find that the household finance loan plan makes that money.
I guess we probably don't need to be taking financial advice from a 30s radio show. I doubt finances work the same as they did then.
I mean, you never know. People could stop being so poor that way.
Yeah, they could just stop being so poor. I don't know. We've got about 16 minutes left on the time card. It'd probably take about 22 to 24 minutes to get through another episode. Let you guys that are here listening decide whether we put one more on for you or not.
Now, I will have to say, so far we've learned that Sherlock Holmes is basically the chaotic good of the UK.
Oh, yeah. When did the world
mate,
market?
light that shit on fire.
Oh, yeah. Stock market.
Huh?
Novel Bro asked about the world market creation. When did the stock change happen?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm not a finance, obviously. I would not be streaming from a potato having my co-host call in from a tin can on a string.
And we'd be in a real studio.
No, well, I would be. I still wouldn't invite you. You'll have to call in from a tin can. It might be a nicer tin can, though.
Oh, okay, so like Campbell's instead of like the Kroger brand soup.
Yeah. Definitely. Technically, the first iterations of the stock market apparently arrived in like the 1500s.
Interesting.
Novel Bro says yes, and if nobody else pipes up and says no in the next 30 seconds to a minute, you're getting another episode. I completely understand if anybody leaves to join Racket Stream. He's going to have Ty Beard on tonight. They'll be talking about Richard Meyer's response to Mark Wade's filings. In any event, it'll be 4 good episodes for the replay. I'm probably going to go in and edit out the 11 minutes of the secondary show. I can do that on YouTube. I'll just have to find it tomorrow. So on the replay, you guys won't have to listen to that twice. I apologize for putting you guys through it. Rackets is always late and gay. Yeah, I always watch him the next day because I work a real job. And then I found out today that he's not going to be working, or he's not going to be streaming tomorrow. I'm going to super chat him for the old birthday shout out. Fucker might have to do it late. God damn it, Nick! Why do you have to have a life?
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about? You're going to Bubba Fest. You've only been talking about this for weeks. Jesus.
You're just supposed to be drunk and, learning us about the law.
Explaining us, even.
Yeah, explaining. In, the extreme cases.
I will say, I had to stop in the middle of the stream today and go have some alcohol before I could finish it. From last night, yeah, that shit was rough, man.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was rough.
I'm so behind on listening to his streams.
Oh, dude, you can never catch up on Racket streams. You get behind, you're just fucked. Might as well just start counting sand.
Not as entertaining, though. I mean, being drunk for either does make it more entertaining.
It does. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. It is now 11:48 and a little bit of change, so this will probably run you till about midnight 10. I'm actually going to pause the stream in the middle, and it strikes over to midnight, and say a few words to you folks as I make my rotation around the sun. I'm going to try and get in the exact same position I was when I made my rotation around the sun last year. Weird thing that I do. Be in the same spot every time you make a rotation around the sun. It's strange, I know.
Won't that be difficult to...
Once I move, yeah. Yeah, when you move, it's hard, but when you live in the same place, you can do it.
Fair enough.
The 5th episode, which is technically the 4th episode, is called The Armchair Solution, which is probably what Holmes called his cocaine when he broke it down in the spoon to shoot up between his toes.
A delighted friend and raconteur, Dr. Watson, in his cheery study.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Bell.
Good evening.
Say, would you mind handing me that little notebook over there? The old bullet wound in my leg's acting up again. I don't enjoy hopping about.
Of course. I'm terribly sorry. I didn't notice.
Why would you, Mr. Bell? Why would you? I'm still capable of my 5 miles a day, provided, of course, it's one of my good days.
Well, of course you are. I'm just wondering how you ever managed to get around as much as you did with Sherlock Holmes. On your bad days, I mean.
Yes. Many are the long and weary miles I've spent trading around after that insatiable sleuth-hound when he was hot on the scent. But I remember once when I got even with him, a rascal.
Really? When was that?
It was one spring, in the year 1896, if I remember correctly. Holmes, in the excitement over some chemical experiments, had managed to spill some rather potent acid on his right trouser leg. Before he noticed it, the fabric was completely eaten away, and the flesh underneath had sustained a dangerous burn. At least I led Holmes to believe it was dangerous. It was the only way to keep him anchored to his armchair with a linseed oil bandage neatly in place, where to do some good.
Sherlock Holmes sitting quietly in an armchair. That must have been an unusual sight, Dr. Watson.
It was, Mr. Bell, it was. Our large, airy sitting room in Baker Street was cheerfully illuminated, as I've mentioned before now, by 2 broad windows. One of them, I opened. The weather was unusually warm for May. Then I established Holmes in his armchair in front of it, so that he could watch what was going on in the street below.
Well, I wouldn't have thought there would be enough activity on Baker Street to keep Sherlock Holmes amused, Dr. Watson.
There wasn't, Mr. Bell. There most decidedly was not. Not only did the tedium of sitting still irk my friend, but his leg burned like a veritable inferno. The combination was not calculated to improve his disposition.
Watson, the discouraging, disgusting,
disciplinary?
No, disgraceful irony of it.
What?
This blasted idleness.
But Holmes, after all, it's not your fault if you're temporarily hors de combat, as they say in our more elegant novels.
Who said it was? I'm not complaining because I'm not able to go about looking for trouble, but because no one brings me any. Here I am, the greatest unofficial consulting detective alive.
What's so extraordinary in that?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I thought you always claimed you were the only unofficial consulting detective.
I am.
Well, then naturally you're the greatest.
Now, don't quibble, Watson. As I was saying, here I am, the greatest consulting detective, the last and highest court of appeals in detection. And no one comes to consult me. No one brings me a crime to solve.
Maybe there haven't been any.
Oh, nonsense. The newspapers are full of crimes. 2 bank robberies, an abduction, 3 fires of undoubtedly incendiary origin, and a stolen baby carriage I reported in yesterday's paper alone.
What do you mean?
But does Scotland Yard remember my existence? Does Lestrade drop in this dilatory way? Not at all. Nor have they managed to solve the cases for themselves. No, they're content to let matters drift. Shiftless inefficiency. And here I sit, my brain's stagnating, my energy's untapped. I'd even be content to work on the baby carriage, blast it.
Yes, but look here, Holmes. Even if they brought one of these cases to you for solution, you're in no condition to go prowling about town collecting the necessary data.
I wouldn't need to, Watson. Not if they bring me the facts. Anyone, even Lestrade, can unearth facts. It's the correct interpretation of them that marks the expert. The science of deduction and analysis is one that can only be acquired by long and arduous study. From a drop of water, the true logician can infer the possibility of an Atlantic or a Niagara.
Oh, well, if all he wants a glass of water...
Water, bah! I know all there is to know about the water supply of London. Furthermore, I'm not thirsty. No. What I crave is mental stimulation, something to occupy my brain. And what happens? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Even the passers-by in Baker Street this morning are incredible dullness and respectability. What have we had? A washerwoman with a cold from going out in the air too soon after working over her steaming tubs. Barber with asthma from clipping dusty hair. A postman with corns. And 2 distributors of religious pamphlets, one on each side of the street. Not what one would term exciting specimens of the so-called Homo sapiens.
Well, good heavens, you can't expect thieves and beggars and cutthroats every day of the week.
Well, why not? Every human being is a potential criminal. In fact, you might be surprised to know, Watson, how many people hide a crime of some sort in their past.
Oh, rubbish. I'm no misanthrope like you.
You're always looking at life through the rosy tinted spectacles of a confirmed romanticist. I wonder it doesn't make you bilious. Hello. There's the chap I've been waiting for.
Where?
Turning into Baker Street from Marylebone Road. Drunker than usual. Dear. Auntie will be annoyed.
Holmes, what are you babbling about? You must be running a fever.
Certainly not. My temperature's perfectly normal. What day of the month is it, Watson?
Why, it's the, afraid I don't really remember.
Don't remember? His place, the breakfast table, is all littered up with bills, and he doesn't know the day of the month it is.
By Jove, of course. It must be the first of the month.
Bravo, Watson. I knew you could do it if you tried.
You go to blazing.
Oh, I have, judging from the fire in this leg.
Now, what connection has the first of the month got with the inebriated young gentleman lurching up the other side of the street?
Watson, do you mean to tell me that during all the years we've inhabited this suite of rooms, you haven't noticed that come the first of the month, young Mr. Peckworth comes to collect his allowance from his bedridden old aunt who lives in number 224? To the right of his garden house, which lies directly opposite us?
I never even knew there was a Mrs. Peckworth in the neighborhood.
There isn't. The old girl's name is Blunt, Mrs. Blunt. She's married Peckworth's mother's brother, wealthy soap manufacturer, now deceased. Stingy old money bag with a conscience that bristles like a porcupine. Understand she's threatened to cut young Mr. Peckworth out of her will if he turns up once more under the influence of liquor. Here he is. Not only tipsy, but an hour late. The old lady's in a fury.
How do you know so much about it?
Mrs. Hudson has a butter and egg borrowing acquaintance with Mrs. Blunt's housekeeper, the sole attendant. Elderly spinster by the name of O'Reilly, Bridget O'Reilly.
Yes, but how do you know the old harridan's in a temper on this particular morning?
I've seen her face. She has her couch drawn to that second-story bay window. She's poked her head with this incredible nightcap through the curtains no less than 32 times during the last 40 minutes. And her expression is enough to frighten the Gorgon. Yes, there she is again.
By Jove, she's caught sight of her nephew and noticed the difficulty he's having in negotiating her front steps. I'm glad I'm not in his shoes.
Yes, there's a potential drama of no mean voltage in that household, Watson. I wouldn't be surprised if it... Hello? The door is open before Mr. Peckworth is trying to pull the bell. Oh, that's Miss O'Reilly, the housekeeper. She's got a hat on.
Yes, she must be going.
To the post office to post a message, judging by the letter in her hand. Must be important.
Why?
Because if it's an ordinary letter, she'd drop it at the post box at the corner. That indicates she intends to go further, to the post office, in fact.
She seems to be giving young Peckworth a bit of a tongue lashing. I'm sure he's having something to say himself.
She slammed the door in his face, leaving him on the steps outside.
There she bounces down the street.
Something's going on in that house, Watson. Something dashed unusual.
And what gives you that impression, Holmes?
Bridget O'Reilly was so unstrung she forgot to remove her apron. 15 minutes to go to the post office and return.
Well, she probably had to stand in line. Know yourself how many people send out money orders the first of the month.
Possibly. Still, 15 minutes.
Oh, Mrs. Blunt seems to be having the pretty too. She's tapping on the window pane to attract her nephew's attention.
Yes, she's motioning him to come inside.
I can't get in on this. The door is closed. I say I can't get in.
She can't make out what he's saying. She's opening the window.
What's that? I say I can't get in on door. The door is shut.
She's right. The door was unlocked all the time. He's gone inside.
Yes, and left the door open. What was that? What was that?
Sounded like a door being slammed. Probably the draft from the open front door blew it shut.
If the draft was that strong, it would slam the front door and blow it wider open. But it hasn't been moved.
Here comes young Spectre. Like a shot out of a gun.
Yes, he's had a shock. Face white. Perfectly sober. There he goes, tearing down the street. I tell you what, that wasn't the door we heard, it was a revolver. Oh, confound this lake, if I could only...
You mean he's murdered his aunt, and now he's trying to get away? Never fear, Holmes, I'll catch him.
Stop, please! Right there! Stop him, somebody! Shut up, you idiot, you'll spoil everything.
Yes, Holmes, you just...
Quiet, Watson, quiet. Here comes the housekeeper back down the street. She's got rid of the apron, I see.
Yes, she's hurrying to make up for lost time. There she goes, up the steps.
I wonder what she's about to find inside that house.
Good heavens, Holmes, you are a cold-blooded monster. No, I believe you're actually hoping there'll be thieves in the attic and a body in this cellar.
I don't think we shall have to hope for a body in this, Watson. There's bound to be. Yes, here comes the housekeeper racing down the steps. Here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like that rotation has completed. We are one full cycle around the Earth since the last time I did this. So, since I'm drinking Irish whiskey, I felt it was only appropriate to give an Irish toast to the chat for you guys sticking with us in these last few months. We definitely appreciate it. You guys are the real MVPs. I don't give a shit what Ayrton says about you when we're off the air. I like you guys.
Hey, we have the best chat. Our chat is wonderful, the best. Sorry, my voice just stops working for a sec. Anyways, no, if I could give you guys trophies, I would.
Okay. Well, to this I say, I drink to your health when I'm with you. I drink to your health when I'm alone. I drink to your health so often, I'm starting to worry about my own. Cheers, chat.
Cheers.
And with that, let us finish up this episode and get the fuck out of here.
Because I'm tired as fuck.
Now, what'd I tell you? Well, if they must call Scotland Yard, I only hope they send for Inspector Lestrade.
Oh, I do wish you'd come away from that window and eat your supper.
Oh, confound it. Lestrade has been in that house for 5 hours now. How long is it going to take him to collect his facts and ask us silly questions?
Holmes, the stew's getting
What
cold.
blaze with the stew? Eat it yourself. No, don't. There comes Lestrade now, Watson. Quick. Invite him to drop over for a drink. Quick, Watson, quick.
Right, all right. Hey there. I say, Lestrade, how about a sort of brandy?
Oh, all right, Dr. Watson.
I don't mind if I do.
Here he comes, Holmes.
Good. Now get off the glasses, Watson. Get him out.
Oh, right. That's just what I was about to do. Give me time, can't you? Now, let me see. You want a big one, I suppose.
Come in. Ah, Inspector Lestrade. Well, Holmes, there's been a murder just across the street. Practically under your very nose, as you might say.
Yeah, so they tell me.
How are you having, Lestrade?
Oh, very mild. Not more than 4 fingers, thanks.
Abstemious, eh, Watson?
Soda?
Oh, a splash. Just a splash.
There you are, Lestrade.
Now, there's the ticket.
Have you evolved any theories as to how the crime was committed, Lestrade?
Theories? My dear Holmes, you should know by now that Scotland Yard inspector on the case does not drink. We arrested the murderer at his club not half an hour ago. Well, here's to the yacht.
I suppose when you say the murderer, you're alluding to young Peckworth, Mrs. Blunt's nephew.
Exactly. She had a powerful motive. The old lady had just sent off a letter to her attorney saying she wished to see him about changing a will.
All right. The housekeeper told you that, I suppose.
Yes. It seems she met Mr. Peckworth on the front steps when she was going out and told him too. It seems they had quite a few words on the subject.
Absolutely. Holmes and I can testify to that. Holmes? They quarreled for several minutes. Of course, we couldn't hear what they said, but their expressions were decidedly angry.
And the letter?
Oh, it was mailed right enough, Holmes. Registered at the post office. The housekeeper signed the book.
Oh, really?
Furthermore, the contents of the letter were exactly as the housekeeper specified. So the motive is proved. Even Mr. Peckwood can't deny that. How about another round, Dr. Watson? Solving crimes is dry work.
Right. Hand over your glass.
Well, Holmes, you can't complain Scotland Yard isn't thorough. We traced that letter inside of half an hour.
Have I ever, Lestrade? Short-sighted, perhaps, even dense, but never, well, hardly ever, not thorough.
Oh, I like that. Well, we proved the lad not only had the motive, he had the opportunity.
You don't say.
Here's a drink.
Oh, thanks. He was in the house alone at the time of the shooting.
And how do you know?
Your own Mrs. Hudson is our authority for that.
Oh,
She heard what sounded like a shot across the way, hurried to her basement window, and was in time to see Peckworth dash out of the house and go tearing off down the street.
Oh, I don't doubt he was in the house at the time of the shot. In fact, Watson and I can testify to that, too. But that doesn't prove he fired the shot.
Oh, it doesn't, eh? Well, what was it then? Spontaneous combustion?
Well, even that isn't such an impossibility as you might think, Lestrade. Would you mind answering a few questions, just to put my mind at rest?
Certainly, Holmes. If it will amuse you, always humor the sick.
First of all, what was the expression on the old woman's face?
Well, we couldn't rightly say, Holmes. The murderer had fired point blank. It was badly mutilated.
Powder burns?
Oh, yes, very distinctly. She was shot at close range, if that's what you're getting at.
How about the position of her hands?
She was still holding a knitting.
A knitting? Suggestive, eh, Watson? Very suggestive.
I must say, Holmes, I can't see what difference it makes what she was holding in her hand.
Where'd you find the revolver?
We didn't find it.
Oh, you didn't? Oh.
Peckworth must have carried it out of the house with him and disposed of it somewhere.
You're sure it's not in the house?
Of course, I'm sure. Do you think I don't know how to conduct a search? I've had the house gone off. She was afraid something was amiss. So she went immediately upstairs to her mistress.
And saw the result of the villain's handiwork.
Exactly, Dr. Watson. A few minutes earlier, and she'd have been caught red-handed.
And after viewing the body, as you might say, I suppose she ran out into the street and yammered for a policeman. He came and they searched the house.
But of course that's what happened, Holmes. Good Lord, you saw that much yourself.
I did not. I didn't witness her discovery of the body.
Now, do let's be accurate, Watson.
Yes, good Lord, what difference is there? Wouldn't have called the police.
Well, he searched the house and found no one. Furthermore, the only other exit, the back door, was locked, as the housekeeper had left it. The only way the murderer could have entered the house was the front door, which the housekeeper had neglected to lock in her excitement. And we have witnesses to prove that Peckworth was the only person to use that door during the housekeeper's absence.
Right. I'll back you up on that, Lestrade.
Thank you, Doctor. Watson, you're a fool. What has young Peckworth to say about all this, Lestrade? Oh, the usual thing. Bleats about his innocence. Says he was just about to go upstairs when he heard the shot. Realized that something was decidedly wrong and that he'd be blamed for it if he was found on the spot. Said he never was upstairs at all. Ridiculous, isn't it? That's the trouble with the average criminal. Can't even think of a plausible story. Yeah, the story may not be particularly plausible in this case, Lestrade, but it does happen to be the truth. Peckworth did not kill his aunt. What makes you so sure? The lapse of time between the shot and his exit out the front door of the house. Couldn't possibly have run from in front of his aunt's couch, downstairs and out in that short time. Hence, he was not upstairs when the shot was fired. Yes, but that's just a matter of a couple of seconds. No jury in the world will believe that anyone can judge time with that degree of accuracy. Now, the average British jury is not composed of magnificent intellect, I grant you. However, I have further proof, which will, I think, convince even their dull brains. And that is? Mr. Peckworth did not have a gun on his person when he went in. The bulge would have been extremely noticeable under the foppish lightness of his clothing. Nor did he have one when he left the house.
By Jove, Holmes, I believe you're right. No revolver was found inside the house.
Of course not. The murderer was very careful to remove it. And now I suppose you're going to tell me you know who the murderer was. Quite. It was Bridget O'Reilly, the housekeeper. What? Holmes, you're out of your mind. She couldn't possibly have entered the house. Oh, no? Suppose you search the airway back of Mrs. Blunt's residence for a blood-stained apron and a businesslike revolver. She can't have hidden them too carefully. She didn't have time. Well, I'll do it. Good. Not that I expect to find anything, mind you. Of course not. I'm only doing it to humor you. Because you're sick. Damn right,
Here comes Lestrade back again, Holmes.
The search didn't take so long, Watson? Scotland Yard is really rather clever at finding things. Yes, once you point out where they should look. Now, come in. Well, Lestrade. Well, you know, Holmes, sometimes you're positively uncanny. You don't tell me. Well. Stevens is over there now, getting the housekeeper's confession. I take it you found the apron and the revolver. Yeah, we did. In the areaway, just as you said. It was hidden in an old watering pot. The revolver even had a perfect set of the housekeeper's fingerprints still on it. Oh, careless of her. But how you figured it out, Holmes, is beyond me. I knew the moment you said the victim was still clutching her knitting. Yes, but whoever it was that shot her didn't take her unawares. She was shot from the front at close range. However, the approach of the murderer didn't alarm the old lady, or she would have dropped her knitting and put up her hands to defend herself.
Of course, I see what you're getting at.
Now, don't interrupt, Watson. And the only two people who were that intimate with the old lady were her nephew and her housekeeper. Matter of fact, had her nephew entered the room, she would probably have put down her knitting in order to give him a tongue lashing. Furthermore, we know it could not have been the nephew because he did not carry the revolver out of the house. Well, who was left? Housekeeper, of course. I can grant you all that, Holmes. But dash it all, how did she get in and out? The back door was locked from the inside. Right. However, you've only the housekeeper's word for it, that it was locked when she left the house. What do you mean? What was to prevent her from leaving the back door unlocked? posting the letter, sneaking back and entering through the back door, committing the crime, exiting again through the back door, disposing of the revolver and blood-stained apron. Blood always is a nasty way of searching, you know. And then what did she do? Hurries around to the front of the house, enters again, races through to the back door and locks it from the inside. And then runs back out the front door and calls for the police. After all, she didn't have to take the time to go upstairs to discover the crime. Who knows better than the murderer when there's a corpse to be found?
By Jove, Holmes. You know, that's a magnificent chain of reasoning.
Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary. Well, Dr. Watson.
So I guess that concludes it for this evening's episode of the Gospel of Comics Radio. I hope everyone enjoyed it. We will run another poll before Monday to decide what we're going to put on. Possible surprise mystery guest you guys might have heard of coming on the show. Not Gilbert Deltreve of Grom. Not the artist of Clint. Not anybody you've seen before. But very special guest may be coming on the show in the near future, so little sneak peek. I will let you know as soon as we nail that down that's happening. But in any event, I do think the first Damascus is coming back on.
Oh, yeah?
That'll be fun, yeah. Tried to get him on this weekend, but he was busy. So.
Oh.
Anyway, I
Nice.
appreciate all you guys hanging out. Everybody go watch Ricada, crawl in bed, do whatever you're going to do. It's 1 a.m. I'm not pushing 1 a.m. It's only 12:15, but I do have to work tomorrow, so probably get off of here and go to bed. So with that, I bid you all good night. I appreciate you all coming out and hanging out with us, and we will see you this weekend, folks.
Good night, everybody.